Hey everyone, do you want to hear a fun game? Determining whether or not you love or hate the product of a video game dev team. You want to hear what's even more fun? Not having a one-sided opinion on a game and being super indecisive of whether or not you like it or you hate it. I get to play that game all the time. Alright, so being specific here, there's a difference between mixed and average. Average is whenever a game never reaches its full potential, but it's never really that bad either. Mixed is whenever it has spots of certain greatness, but it can also be really bad at certain points. So no, if you play a game and it's not really that good, but it's not really that bad either, that's not a mixed game. There are aspects of these games on this list that I like, and other aspects that I hate. Don't go confusing the two. But I'm not necessarily saying that these games are bad or good. And yes, there are cases where the game's positives slightly outweigh the negatives. But come on, you guys can't expect me to think that these games are 50% good and 50% bad exactly. Right? You wanna hear another game I like playing? Controversial opinions. Case in point, Shovel Knight. Gosh, well, I don't think this game is bad, but it certainly is overrated. I always hear people talking about how great the level design is, and I don't really think it's that great. Is it unique? Yes, and it is memorable too, but that doesn't make it great. I enjoy levels like Mole Knight's stage because of all the cool, unique gimmicks that it's got going on for it, but most of the other levels are just to me. I'm sorry, but I dread going to some of these levels. It's not like they're horrible, and they're not my least favorite levels out of all video games I've ever played, but they're just so boring. But I honestly think that okay level design can be made up for it as long as the character I'm controlling in this 2D platformer is really interesting and fun to control. People tend to give praise to Shovel Knight's upgrade system, and honestly, it's really unsatisfying. It's because the upgrades just aren't that cool. I mean, most of the armor upgrades aren't that useful in my opinion. There's really only one piece of armor I actually like. The weapons are usually situational, and overall I just feel like in the game you're traversing a bland level with an even more bland character. I guess that's why I like Plague Knight's story more, because in that story, whenever I get an upgrade, I actually feel really satisfied. Oh yes, I still am going through levels that I think are bland, but at least I'm controlling a fun character with a wide arsenal. I guess you could say that this game's design dug its own grave. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to find out where I left that knife. Come on people, we need more than one daily dose of controversy. Let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog.
What was that?
Nah, don't worry, I'm not gonna be jumping on the bandwagon anytime soon. But maybe next year. Nah, today we're gonna be talking about a Sonic game that isn't well received, but I like it, and I understand the distaste. Man, I can have some really stupid fun with this game. We have a much cooler combat system that doesn't necessarily hinder you, minus the motion controls. Different mission types that are of varying quality, upgrades, and a story that came right out of a fanfiction. These two games are actually really similar. This game seems like a stupid good time for me. But the issues begin to arise whenever we start talking about some of the controls. I'm not talking about the motion controls, I think those are okay. No, Sonic is so loose. His shoes must have ice and butter underneath them. And at times, it just does not work with the level design. Speaking of the level design, it could be so much more replayable if there were multiple passages. It's so repetitive playing through some of these missions, and some of them involve you giving rings to townspeople. Quick time event style. You know, this game doesn't really stray too far away from the Sonic norm. They should bring a gameplay style like this back and make the level design more interesting and the combat even more fun, and not butcher the controls. And also change up the story a bit, because seeing Knuckles want to kill himself, that doesn't make me chuckle at all. So earlier this year, I picked up this game on Steam. It was one about survival and I guess strategy. It's called 60 Seconds. The game takes place in America during middle 2018. Basically, you need to gather up all your friends and a bunch of supplies and get inside of a bomb shelter to survive a nuclear bomb. Wait, hold on. This game takes place in the 1950s? Oh. Well, if we're not careful, then this game's definitely going to take place in 2018, if you know what I'm saying. You're gonna have to survive everything in the apocalypse. You also have to make sure that you have the right items to take care of certain situations, or maybe you can use those items to trade with someone else, or maybe you need some food, or maybe you can even go scavenging to find more supplies. And the game is incredibly difficult. Even on the lowest setting, you're going to lose on your first couple of runs. Heck, out of my 20 plus playthroughs, I've only won one time. Here's the thing, each playthrough usually only lasts an hour or maybe an hour and a half. So if you lose, it's not really that frustrating. You can just start over and maybe you'll have some new events that come along, or maybe you can try different strategies. It's a game all about the replayability. And I don't know if it's just me, but most of my playthroughs feel very similar. Maybe that's because most of the events aren't really that impactful. There are some that obviously involve you losing a lot of stuff or maybe getting a really important item, but most of it will usually just involve you losing a can of soup or something. And since the game's all about learning what works, I usually just stick to the same old formula so I can get as far as I can. Whenever I'm in the scavenging phase, I always make sure to grab all the family members and a gas mask. The family members because I feel guilty if I don't get them, and the gas mask because during the early game, you cannot go out into the wasteland without getting sick, that is. And that's if you have a gas mask. So yeah, I can have some decent fun with this game, but every now and again, it's a little bit boring replaying it due to some of the events constantly popping up. There are plenty of events I'm pretty sure that I haven't seen yet, but I've seen so many of the same events over and over again. And you want to hear the one I hate the most? Gosh, this is such a killjoy. Near the end of all my playthroughs, around day 60 or day 80, raiders come almost every single turn. These raiders live by their name, and they try and invade your shelter. The only way to defend yourself is by either using an axe, a shotgun, or a lock. 3 items that are pretty important, not the lock so much. If you use one of these items to defend yourself, then they will break, but you'll be defended at least. However, if you don't have any of these items, then one of your family members gets kidnapped. And since these guys come almost every single turn, you're going to run out of all your items, and then you're going to run out of family members. Now if you excuse me, I gotta get in my own bomb shelter. And you'll know why whenever you see the next game on this list. Bye everybody. Could that thing that I said earlier be considered a joke? Whenever I think about it, yeah, I guess it could. Oh, trust me, I know that there are people who love Smash Melee, but the game has pretty much become a joke because of Final Destination Fox only. Yeah, let's stay away from the competitive scene. You know, this was actually my very first Smash game, and it's fun, it still is fun, but I prefer all the other entries that I've played. And that comes down to the levels. The levels are very mixed. I either like them or they can go rot. I'm pretty sure that this game has an amazing soundtrack, but I really don't think it's anything memorable. What is up with these controls? What's a wave dash? Didn't I say that we were staying away from the competitive scene? Who came up with this character roster? Why are there so many clones? Shouldn't this just be called Super Smash Bros. Melee Attack the Clones? And most importantly, why does it feel like that I'm punching a sack of potatoes every single time I hit someone in this game? Oh, I guess that's just me. But hey, keep in mind, all those complaints I just made back there, that's just what makes me not want to play this over the other Smash Bros. Games. If there's something I like about the Smash series is that at least you can go back to all the other games and you can find something different. This is just the one that I tend to come back to at least. Oh look everyone, it's Star Fox. I guess I should come up with some stupid defense quotes or something like that. Oh, trust me, unlike Zero, Command doesn't deserve any defense. Okay, to be fair, it's not horrible. I thought that was going to be pretty bad getting into it, But you know, I don't really regret spending like $7 on this game. Because at first, I actually had a lot of fun with the game, even though I really didn't understand what I was doing due to the fact that I skipped the tutorial because I thought it'd be similar to other Star Fox games. But no, basically, you guide all your oil wings around the map and try and take back a bunch of bases and get a hold of these cores from enemies. It's different. That's all I can say. And along the way, you can even choose which pathway you'd like to go down in the story. Okay, I have a few problems to address here. For one, during your first playthrough, you have to go down one straight, linear pathway. And it's incredibly uninteresting. Sure, you take down the villain, but it's very anticlimactic, and even then, I wouldn't even consider that ending a happy ending. And also, the pathway is actually really short. You only do a few levels. But then, you're given the opportunity to go down different pathways. And that's pretty fortunate, because I had a hard time watching myself have to go down one pathway whenever I'm given multiple choices that I can't choose. So it's cool that now I can go down all these different passageways, and oh my gosh, there's so many different endings, and I got so bored. The maps do next to nothing to change things up. The only differences are the different enemies that you'll encounter, and sometimes there's fog of war. Basically what you need to do is you need to counter all the enemies and get all the cores to complete the level. And the controls aren't really that bad once you initiate battle. The time limit is kind of annoying, but it's only a minor annoyance. I'm sorry, it gets way too draining later on. I haven't completed this game yet. I think I've gotten like 5 endings, and it's just, I got so bored of the game. Due to how it's structured, you're just ramming into enemies, and you're taking back bases. That's about it. To be fair, I did find it pretty fun going down all the different passageways, but to do that, I had to go through all those different levels. And it doesn't matter how many different pilots you introduce to me, I don't care, because they barely change up the gameplay. And you know how it's supposed to be about the journey and not the destination? Well, here's the thing. The journey, in most cases, can be very boring whenever you try and marathon this game. And as for the destination, well, in some cases, it's not much better. Alright, I was promised some really good music for this entry, and I haven't gotten it yet. Okay then, I assume that you can't guess what game this song is from. Well, I hope that you don't have a fear of coffee pots, viruses, or really awesome music, because this game has got you covered in all of those departments. This game is The Desolate Hope. It's a game. It's a multi-genre game. We'll get to that whole multi-genre thing in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about the presentation. I really like this game's art style. It looks nice. I don't know what it is, but it gives me a Donkey Kong Country vibe. And the music's really good too. I'm not sure if the developer of this game composed these tracks or not, but hey, good selection nonetheless. Now let's get into this game's combat. It's freaking amazing. I'm dead serious. This is gonna be one of my new favorite combat systems in any game. Not only are the battles a spectacle, but you've also got 4 different party members with all unique abilities. You start out with a very limited selection of attacks, but you can use your turn to charge up for the next, which gives you access to more attacks. And fortunately, all the attacks are useful in some way or situation. And also, due to this battle system being in real time, you can be so active during these. You can play minigames for stat boosts, or maybe set up turrets to do extra damage over time. It's so much fun! But, what do I hate about this game then? It's multi-genre. This game also has top-down segments, which I literally just thought were for grinding money, and that's it. And they're okay, I guess. And then there's 2D platforming and exploration. I'm sorry, but these worlds, while they all are very small, they're so boring to explore. All of them have some sort of inconvenience that makes it not fun to travel through. And no, if you're wondering, there are no random encounters. The only battles in this game are technically boss fights. You see, there are these 4 robots, and you go inside their minds to kill viruses. You find said robot, and then you find the location of the virus, and then you battle the virus. Due to how this game is structured, only 30% of this game is boss fights. And something that really hurts is that whenever you lose a battle, you end up outside the robot that you were currently inside of. And the only way to get experience points, I guess, is to go outside during nighttime and collect items. But the items are randomized, and depending on which item you get, you can only give them to one specific robot. So the debuffer on my team was stuck at level 1 while everyone else was at levels 5 to 7. I want to like this game, but even considering the fact that half this game isn't the amazing combat system, I'm sorry, I can't. Sure, I'll play more of it, I've gotta finish it at some point, but this was the game that inspired the list. Hey, if there's one major positive I've gotta give this game besides the combat, it's that this game is 100% free on Steam.
What do I owe you? Nothing. It's for free. Free?
Up next is a game that I hate purely because of the difficulty. Pokemon Colosseum. Oh, you know what? There are plenty of things to enjoy about this game. I like how expressive the Pokemon look at times. It breaks away from the Pokemon norm of just going to a bunch of gyms. Instead, you go to Colosseums, which are different. You can take people's Pokemon if they're Shadow Pokemon, and you can even purify them. That's something I always really liked about this game. You could take other people's Pokemon and have a really strange team. I always just liked that idea. That next Pokemon that a trainer could send out could possibly be a Shadow Pokemon. I'm guessing that's where the positives end. Well, of course, other than that, it's Pokemon. Of course it's fun. In my eyes, at least. But as I said earlier, the thing I hate the most about this game is the difficulty. First off, these battles go on for a very long time due to how strong the other trainer's Pokemon is. And the bosses will absolutely wipe the floor with you. It doesn't help that they carry legendary Pokemon with them. And trust me, tough trainers is not the only reason why this Pokemon game is hard. You wanna know what I like the most about other Pokemon games? Catching and raising Pokemon. You're given several different options in the other games. So many different unique choices you can add to your team. I love this. It added an outstanding amount of replayability. Does Colosseum have that? Nope. There aren't even wild Pokemon. The only Pokemon that you can get are the ones that they give you through Shadow Pokemon. And boy, they are stingy. It's hard enough to get these Pokemon in the first place, but even then, what they give you isn't good enough to face off against the tougher trainers in this game. Did you know that in the main game, the only ghost type Pokemon that you can get is Mischievous? I hate how limited you are in this game. Not only does it make the game less fun to play, but also makes the game a lot more of a challenge. Heck, the only characters I can think of that give you really good Pokemon are the penultimate and final bosses. It's just not nearly as fun making a team in this game. It's just more or less looking in your PC box and like, yeah, I think that one is less worse than the others. And this next part's just a personal thing. I understand why they have a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon. It's so that you can get them in Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby and such. But I don't like the Gen 2 selection of Pokemon. I'm sorry, it's just such an underwhelming selection of Pokemon. That's all I have to say here. It goes against most of the stuff that the Pokemon games are known for, and I really hate that, because there's so much to like about this game as well. But hey, fortunately its sequel XD was much better, and it fixed a lot of flaws that this game had. Oh dear. Oh no. Nobody told me we were stepping into this territory. Well then, no promises that there won't be any blood. Okay, so I have a bit of an odd history with the Yokai Watch series. I loved the first game a lot. I liked befriending yokai even if it was absolutely painful doing so. I liked the bosses, and I really liked the combat. And I was so excited to see that they were making a sequel to this game, or as I should say, they already made a sequel, but they were localizing it. I always wondered, what did they do to advance this sequel and make it better than the first game? Did they maybe improve the battle system, add in a bunch of cool new yokai, make the boss battles bigger and better than before? Oh, how I wish. Playing through the main story of this game is not fun in the slightest. Dare I say it, this has gotta be one of the most lousy excuses for a sequel I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, how did they improve the combat? Oh, I'm not sure they added in like 2 worthless features. Alright, being fair, it's really easy to find out what a yokai's favorite food is now. That's great. But M skills, which are pretty much just stronger versions of ultimates, really strong attacks, they're way too risky to use, especially during bosses, where by the time you're done with the attack, all of your yokai might just be dead. Did they possibly improve on, let's say, the main storyline or exploring areas? No, they didn't. All they did is they added in a train system which is really poor and boring. And the main story is an absolute slog, not just because that's boring as well, but they like to interrupt it every now and again with side quests that are required. How is that a side quest if it's required? And as for the bosses, oh, you get the point by now. They're awful. They're not memorable. I mean, sure, the first boss is pretty good, and some of the post-game bosses are alright. But the final boss, oh, I can't wait to make top 10 of these favorite bosses. It's an insult to the amazing final boss of Yokai Watch 1. Look at all this trash this game has to offer. What could I possibly like about it? Well, funnily enough, it's everything but the main storyline. As I said, some of the bosses in the post-game are alright, and also the side quests are really good too. The side quests are much better than they were in the first game. They're a lot more deep, and also there are some side quests that chain into other side quests, making for like one big, huge story arc. There's a lot of great post-game stuff that they offer up here. I just realized something. Whenever Yokai Watch 2 tells you to do something, it's not fun, but whenever you're let loose to do whatever you want and explore all the post-game material and such, it's actually kind of fun. I definitely enjoy going around and exploring to see what type of post-game content I can find and all the quests that I can do. It's a real shame that you have to go through the slog that is the main storyline to get to all this great stuff. But I'm extremely mixed on this game. I'm not overly positive and I'm not overly negative, even though I just went on a big rant earlier. But the fact of the matter is that I'm upset that they didn't try and improve what was great in the first game, and instead made some really meaningless changes and some terrible design choices. I would say that this game is worth it alone just for the post game, but no one's gonna want to sit through this awful main storyline. And heck, to some, the post-game might not even be worth it. Alright, can someone please just tell me who the heck thought that this was a good design choice that would... Oh, I have to talk about the good stuff first. Alright, so I've talked about Bravely 2nd before, but I've never talked about the first game, Bravely Default. There's a reason why. So if you heard me ever talk about Bravely 2nd before, then I guess I gotta rush right through this. Basically, I like the job system, which was introduced in this game, but it was much better in Bravely 2nd, which is to be expected from a sequel. However, I don't like the characters as much as in this game. The only one I really like is Ringabel. The boss fights are great, and I really like the side quest. I'm sorry about that short rush there. I just didn't want to have to repeat myself. Basically, what I like about Bravely 2nd is what I like about Bravely Default, to a lesser extent. But you want to hear why I love Bravely 2nd and just feel kind of mixed towards this game? Because of one design choice. And warning, we have spoilers incoming. After the first world in the game, you go on to another world. In this second world, you have to fight all 4 of the crystal bosses again, that you fought before. It's not like it's easy to fight these guys. I mean, they are kind of challenging, but the thing is that their battles take forever. And you have a lot more playtime added if you go after the side quests again. Which, to be fair, the side quests aren't as deep as they were in the first world. They're just there if you missed some of the jobs. Now, me being the person I am and wanting to get as much job points and EXP as I can, I decided to redo all the side quests, and then I went after the crystal bosses. Then, you go on to a third world. So I did all the bosses, including the side quests again, and then I fought the crystal bosses again, and you know what happens. This happens 5 times. This has gotta be one of the most stupid excuses for padding game out that I could ever think of. No one in their right mind could possibly think that this was a good design choice, especially for a game like this. You can't pad out an RPG, that kills the pace. Heck, I haven't even completed this game yet. Yeah, I've gotten past all of the worlds, but I don't care anymore. I don't want to fight the penultimate boss, and I don't want to fight the final boss either. You know what, I think the best thing I can do to close my case is compare my playtime between these two games. Keep in mind, I did all the side quests in both of these games. For Bravely Second, my playtime was 60 hours. Keep in mind, this game doesn't have any padding at all. All of it is original content. Okay, to be fair, you have to refight some of the bosses at a later point, but that's not much of a big deal. Besides, they added new attacks. So yeah, that's a lot of great content, and it doesn't even have any padding or filler. What about Bravely Default, 130 hours? You seriously have got to be kidding me. So I'm guessing by this point you've realized that every game on this list has a good aspect in it and a bad aspect in it. The game at number 1 has mixed aspects. I found it quite fitting to put this game at number 1 due to everything in the game, in my opinion, being extremely mixed, as well as me deeming it the most mixed game I've ever played once I completed it. And once you know it, it's developed by Level 5. Wow, they have a really good track record. So, LBX, Little Battler's Experience, what have you got to say for yourself? It's essentially futuristic Pokemon with robots. That's all I have to say. The entire world obsesses over them, and also, they're everywhere. You can't get anywhere without seeing one, and the main villains try and use it to conquer the world. That's kinda stupid to use a children's toy to conquer the world. So a kid by the name of Van Yamano, whose father created LBX, and his friends have to stop evildoers and do a bunch of random stuff in between. So why was I more in-depth in the plot than the other games on this list? Well, that's because I think that this game actually has a really good plot. I love to see how the plot evolves over time. It's like you're watching a TV show, which is pretty fitting because I'm pretty sure that this is based off of a TV show or an anime or something. And there's a bunch of other stuff that just came unexpected. It was pretty good. The story could have been better if I enjoyed the characters. I don't like these characters that much. They're far from hateable, but they're just annoying. The only character I liked was the character who was revealed to be the main villain, who I'm not going to spoil. But that mainly comes down to his backstory and one line of dialogue from him. But having a good story doesn't matter if your gameplay sucks. And gameplay doesn't necessarily suck. You can customize an LBX and bring it into battle. And I was absolutely addicted to the battle system in this game. At first. Later on in the game, I got stuck on a boss and I had to grind. And all of a sudden, I got really bored with the battle system. Sure, you can level up your weapons and your skills and your armor why would you want to level up your armor pieces? That adds in more grinding. And sure, customization was kind of fun, if not a little bit confusing. Especially whenever you got to designing the LBX's core and putting in all sorts of chips and parts. I don't understand this. However, what's the point of customization if you're going to shove in a bunch of other stuff that you want me to use? If you don't know what I mean by that, basically, they give you several weapons that are better than the ones that you already have, and every now and again, they even completely change how your LBX looks. No joke, at one point in the game, they give you a CPU unit that you can put inside of your LBX. But it took up too much space in mine, and I was just better off with what I already had, so I left it out. Immediately after that scenario, you fight one of the main villain's grunts. And after I beat them, Van said, "Wow, that new CPU unit helped out quite a lot." I didn't even equip it, you stupid. What did I tell you? I have mixed feelings about all of this. I'm talking about what I love about the game and what I hate about it at the exact same time. I know that I could truly love this game, but the characters and the customization being absolutely botched, and the battles requiring so much grinding. This could be one of my favorite RPGs ever, but it can't. It's bogged down by all this tedious crap. I want to say I like this game, but there's too many negatives. It's so mixed. No wonder I deemed it the most mixed game I've ever played. But because I want to end off on a positive note, I want to say this. I don't regret playing this game, and I don't regret finishing it either. In fact, I'm really happy I finished this game. The finale was great, and the final boss was super fair, if not a little bit challenging. And also, if I didn't finish it, I'd probably say I just hate this game, and that's it. So I'm glad I was able to remember everything I loved about the game at the last minute. I guess that's pretty good. It's not really a bad game after all, but I just wish I could say a lot more good things about it. I'm Luigi Magic NX, and holy crap, 30 minutes! Hello everyone, I know I usually don't do one of these ending messages things, but I just wanted to apologize for this taking a little bit longer than usual. And after this, I have one more countdown coming out, which is going to come out very late in December, it's December right now. And just like last year, at the beginning of 2018, I'm going to have a recap video of all my countdowns. I'm not going to do a recap for Mario Plush Saga, since I'll just make a top 15 Mario Plush Saga Season 3 episodes or something. And I guess that's all I have to say. Gosh, 31 minutes. I don't think I've made a countdown this long ever since Top 15 Moments in the Mother series, which was coincidentally a year ago. Wow. Bye bye everybody, hopefully this doesn't take too long to render.